Hey, aloha everyone. Michelle Melendez with blossominnerwellness.com and standtogetherhawaii.com. And I am here again with Margie and Jack Flynn, who have 60 years of experience supporting people with the Constitution and really going toward teaching people their rights, unalienable rights that are protected by the Constitution. So, Jack and Margie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Michelle.
Good to be here, Michelle. Good to see you.
So I want to start with what's happening in Maui with the toxic dump. Now, you guys, I'm sure many people around the world have heard what's going on, but for those of you who don't, they want to move 5 football fields, 5 stories high of toxic soil, and they want to move it to a temporary spot. And I'm going to share a video with you guys that was shared on Amazing Eric West's his show. So actually, let me go to that page really fast. Hold on one second while I go to the right spot here. But we're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about the what's happening with the governor's emergency proclamations. And let's see here. Sorry about that. Let me close that and then share screen. Okay, there it is. Share audio, and here we go. So let's just start here.
And here we are, we're sitting in my office, and I wanted to explain to folks, I don't think they ever even had an inclination to try and do a permanent site other than the temporary site as the permanent site. Here it is. Here's the permanent site, right? Everybody says, oh, they're going to put a permanent site in here. But now, guys, look, here it is on a real GPS site. There's a 200-foot mountain right there. There's a cultural site right there. There's no way on the earth they ever planned to even do a permanent there. It's just not true. There's no space to do it. They'd have no staging area. Look here. This is the temporary site real time. And you can also see that they're off the TMK onto a third state TMK right here. There's a lot of stuff that's not being told to anyone. They plan on putting this right here, and all they've ever showed us is this right here, 8 feet of subsoil, a temporary liner underneath it, a leachment system, all the stuff. That's anything anybody's ever seen. The mayor or anyone else has not been able to come up with a different diagram. So now check this out right here. This is what the temporary site is. It's hard cinder, and underneath the hard cinder, on top of it is a piece of felt, and on top of that felt is a piece of liner, and then a piece of felt on that. That is not what everyone was shown and saying, oh, you're going to take it there and that's how it's going to be. So now you want to put it in a temporary site that's going to be leaching into the ocean. We know that the groundwater is right underneath it. We know the ocean's right here. And I'm trying to explain to everyone that it is a terrible idea to do a temporary site here. It's not in alignment with anything, and people need to start understanding that dialogue, because this temporary site will destroy everybody. And they're not talking about the contamination on the trucks, 14 pounds per truck at the very minimal. Where are their protocols? People need to get on this. And I'm being made the villain because I'm trying to save people's grandchildren right now. And people just need to look at the facts instead of attacking me. No one's going to be in Lahaina for the next 2 years, and that's also not being told to the public. They're telling people, oh, we need to get it out quick so you can get back into Lahaina. People are going to really have to wake up and understand that it is so toxic. I don't care what, no one's going to be in Lahaina for 3 years without a hazmat suit. And we need to educate ourselves instead of hastily making a decision that is going to destroy so much forever. Once it's done, it's done. So a temporary problem, now you've destroyed this permanently. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I'm appealing to everyone, just please look at the documents close and educate yourself before you just think you know what's actually happening. Come see it.
So I want to first just let everybody know that around the world, you can send an email in to the Maui City Council, and that is, and I'm going to put it in the link in the description, but it's county.clerk@mauicounty.us. That's county.clerk@mauicounty.us. You can just send them an email. There have been hundreds. There's the final the final testifying opportunity is tomorrow, which is January 12th at 9 a.m. You can be there live. I'll put the link in the description. And again, if you can send a testimony and email before tomorrow would be preferable. But so many people, including experts, environmental experts, they have no environmental impact statement. They have no assessment of the possible tragedy that this can cause and harm to the environment. And the hundreds of testimonies to the Maui City Council saying, do not do this. And they're ignoring us. They're ignoring us. Now, one more thing I do want to share actually is the Hawaii County, the Hawaii State Constitution of Political Power, Section 1 Bill of Rights. All political power of this state is inherent in the people, and the responsibility for the exercise thereof rests with the people. All government is founded on this authority. So you both have been studying the Constitution, helping people with the Constitution for 60 years. What are your thoughts on this, and how in the world does the Maui City Council have the right to ignore hundreds of people?
It doesn't.
They have no right. They have no right. Government has no rights. The only one who has rights are the people. Government has authority.
Not.
Or not, okay? And since the Constitution is the supreme law of the land to which they've all taken oaths, that is the supreme law. And every other law, code, rule, or regulation is superseded by the Constitution. Is there any authority granted in the Constitution to a city council to wreak havoc upon the American people by dumping refuge in a claimed area that is ridiculous? The answer is no. But the problem is this: people themselves, okay? And it's not only in Hawaii, it's not only in America, it's throughout the world. The people just bend over for the government. Whatever the government wants, the people go along with. Now, there are some people who don't go along with that, and some people take action against the government, but the action they take is not constitutionally based action, therefore it has no authority. So the government just rolls over.
So how?
It takes
what can people do? Like, what is the action that people can take if these city council members are completely ignoring us? Because let me show. I want to do one more share screen and show people the oath of office, the oath to the office that they that people have. Okay, let me. Yes, right here. And oops, sorry. All right, hold on one second while I get that open, because this is what the oath of office that every single government person in legislative body, governor, this is the Hawaii Oath of Office, Section 19, that every member of legislation in all offices of the government of the territory of Hawaii shall take this oath. I solemnly swear or affirm in the presence of Almighty God that I will faithfully support the Constitution and laws of the United States and conscientiously and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the legislature and as an officer of the government of the territory of Hawaii, as the case may be. So what they take this oath, they ignore us. What action can we take? Is it the affidavit that goes right to them?
Yeah, first of all, we have to understand, the American people have to understand that this government, okay, federal, state, and local, or I should say governments, federal, state, and local, are completely unconstitutional, okay, completely unconstitutional, completely criminal, completely corrupt, and corporate. They don't give a damn about the people, okay? They're composed of liars, frauds, and evil beings. And what the liars and frauds and evil beings do, they perpetrate evil upon the people. So it's up to the people to protect themselves. And unfortunately, the people don't protect themselves. If the people did, we wouldn't be living in a communist hellhole. And if the people did, a long time ago, the catastrophe in Lahaina never would have happened. So what can the people do? The people have to take lawful, effective action. Go ahead.
People have to hold their political representatives accountable. And the way to do that, beyond speaking at meetings and protesting in the streets and all of that, is to write the individual members of this council an affidavit
Okay.
in which the people state what they are doing wrong, what the council is doing wrong. First of all, they took that oath, they have to uphold the Constitution. Okay? That means the national Constitution as well as the Hawaiian Constitution. Both constitutions empower the people. They are the de jure or the true government. And we've given a little bit of our power to the people who hold public offices to run the machinery of government. Well, it's obvious that the people running the machinery of government in Maui and probably throughout Hawaii are not abiding by their oaths because they're not upholding the rights of the people guaranteed in the Constitution.
Yes.
So that is a very serious offense by which those public officers have perjured their oath. And once they do that, they vacate their offices. That means they are no longer fit to hold the public office, and they are constitutionally prohibited from receiving public funds. That goes to sections 3 and 4 of the 14th Amendment, which we've spoken of before. This is what I would do. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out thing. It could be a very simple thing. Maybe you and some folks there can come up with some language that will be appropriate using our template and then just filling in the center part with how this is harming the people. And people can do it individually if they wish. I know a lot of people won't because they're unsure of themselves or they lack the skills. So you have to get a groundswell of people, of real people's movement, not just to complain and throw their hands up and say this is unfair, but to actually hold these people accountable. Because these people are criminals.
Yes.
They are conducting a criminal fraud upon the people that is going to be very harmful to the people and harmful to the whole environment. And this is something, you mentioned they don't have any, studies and this and that. All of those things are well and good, but they're all secondary and tertiary to the Constitution. The Constitution is the first thing that these students have to uphold, the very first thing. Anything they do that violates the constitutions in any way is null and void. It has no lawful force and effect. But if the people don't understand this, then they're going to say, well, they went ahead and passed it. No, they don't have the authority to do this.
Exactly.
They have the consent of the people to do this. And there's a town in Maine, Paris, Maine, just a couple of weeks ago, pulled out their entire council because they
Wisconsin. Paris, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, was it Wisconsin? Yeah, it was Wisconsin, not state. They were arguing about a plant that the Chinese people were buying, and they wanted to do some things there that they didn't want done. They wanted to produce lithium batteries. The people said, no, we don't want this. They spoke against it, and the damn council went ahead and did it anyway. The people were so angry that they pulled all of them out of the office. They changed the locks on the building, and they elected brand new members in the same day. And that other council is out in its butt. Okay, and these people need to be out on their butts too. If they think they're going to get away with this, they are criminals. And the people of Maui, the people of Lahaina, and all their neighboring towns have to get up and stand up in the face of these people and say, you will not do this to us or you're going to jail. This is a criminal offense, and the people have to hold them accountable. Send them the affidavits. When is this vote supposed to take place?
Well, tomorrow is the last vote, the last opportunity for people to testify. So, yeah.
When is the vote supposed to take place? Do you know?
I think it's right after the testimony. I think they're going to do testimony and then vote.
No, that's not enough time. I think the people have to demand that the vote does not take place. I think they have to make a scene if necessary. And they have to bring their affidavits right to the floor and say, you are a criminal. I'm charging you with these crimes by affidavit. You have the opportunity to rebut it, but you know you can't because what I stated here and is true and is fact is on the record, okay? And you will be removed from office. You have offended us and you have violated the law and you violated sections 3 and 4 of the 14th Amendment to the National Constitution. You're out. This is what the people have to do. They have to show some courage. They got to get in the face of these people. They don't have to get violent, but they have to be strong verbally because otherwise they'll just mow them down like blades of grass. They're waiting,
which they've been doing.
People. And the less the people do, the more tyranny is going to be imposed upon them. What happened in Lahaina is going to happen elsewhere. I mean, look at what's going on in the world. No one's standing up to the bully, so the bully just keeps crashing through the blockades and smashing people down. If this is the kind of world we want to live in, then we'll just sit and be quiet. But if we want to live in a world which is decent and fair and just, and you can safely breathe and you can drink the water and kids are safe, then we have to get off our butts and do something. And the people of Maui have to do something right now.
Yes, like right now. So I did do an affidavit against the governor, and I want to talk about him really quick and get your guys' opinion on the emergency proclamation. This is so, it's just crazy, but let me show it to you guys. So the emergency proclamation, this is something that the legislative body put together, 127A 14, state of emergency. The governor may declare the existence of a state of emergency. I'm going to move this out of the way. In the state by proclamation, if the governor finds that an emergency or disaster has occurred, or that there is imminent danger or threat of an emergency or disaster in any portion of the state. So if he just thinks there's a threat, he can declare an emergency proclamation. And what's really interesting, I was going to say funny, but I'm like, it's not very funny. This is the policy and purpose of this 127A emergency proclamation. But it says this chapter shall be liberally construed to effectuate its purposes, provided that this chapter shall not be construed or conferring any power or permitting any action which is inconsistent with the Constitution and the laws of the United States. However, this whole thing, the whole entire thing is against the Constitution.
Well, you cite that section in your affidavit. You cite that section because they're going to say, well, the policy says, and remember what I told you a long time ago, the Constitution is the top dog. Under that falls the national Constitution, the state Constitution, and then laws that are made in pursuance of those constitutions. Policies, regulations, and stuff are way to the bottom. None of those can ever supersede the authority of the Constitution, okay, and the rights of the people that the Constitutions guarantee. So you can cite that section in the policy and say your own bogus administrative policy states that this cannot be applicable if it violates the Constitution, if it conflicts in any way, and it does, because you're violating the will of the people and the rights of the people, and you get your power from the people. Without the consent of the government, you have no authority. So we're telling you, you don't have our consent, you don't have any authority, and if you act beyond the scope of your limited delegated duties, you will be prosecuted and you will go to jail. You've got to scare the crap out of them, because otherwise they're just going to sit there and do what their bosses are telling them to do. Because you know this isn't their own agenda. They don't have the brains to do this. They're taking orders from the people on high. And you guys have to let them know that you know that they're just puppets, that they're not doing it on their own, and they're polluting their own world and poisoning their own kids and grandkids for the future. That's what they're doing. They're sellouts.
We're bottom line people, as you know. The bottom line is the most important thing. Everyone talks about secondary, tertiary, other situations that don't really count, okay? Some people talk about important matters, but then they offer no solutions to resolve those matters of which they speak. We offer the solution. Now, government of right serves with the consent of the governed. There is no government of right in the United States of America, not one. Anyone who's listening to this, wherever you live in this country, okay, you are living in an unconstitutional area governed by an unconstitutional government, period, okay? They're all corporate governments. They're all listed in Dun and Bradstreet. It's not only the government, it's the school department, the police department, the fire department, all of it, okay? Now, they all take oaths, but none of them abide by their oaths. This is obvious. I mean, this has been obvious for years. None of them abide by their oaths, but the people do nothing, all right? Now, government of right serves with the consent of the government. Now, if the people do nothing and let the government do whatever the government wants, then that, as far as the government is concerned, that's the government of right.
Yes.
So there's only one force in this nation that's only going to change anything. One force only, and that's the people. But if the people aren't up for it, they deserve what they get. I mean, I hate to put it that way, but if you don't take responsibility for your own life and your own situation and your own government, then you deserve what you get. Now, the affidavit is the strongest piece, let's say, the strongest force, weapon, whatever you want to call it, that the people can use, a lawful weapon against government. All right? Because you know what the affidavit is. We've discussed this before.
Yes.
But for those who haven't heard it before, we write an affidavit template. Okay, and that affidavit template is full of lawful positions and constitutional positions. Then the people have to make their own charges and claims in the section of the template that allows for that. Well, all of those charges and claims must be based upon the unconstitutional actions committed by government that have harmed the people or harmed the individuals. And you can state that all of them have taken oaths, none of them have abided by the rules. Therefore, all of them have invoked sections 3 and 4 of the 14th Amendment, vacated their offices, etc. Now, there's much more that can be put in, but that's just a general position. You give them 30 days to respond. All right, in this particular situation, you don't have time.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, if the vote is coming up tomorrow, the people were negligent in not writing affidavits and not taking action. Because as we've said forever, and as most people with any brains understand, government doesn't listen to whatever the people say
Correct.
if it has no lawful weight. And
Yep.
words to the government have no lawful weight. A letter written to the government has no lawful weight. Complaints written to the government have no lawful weight. It's only the affidavit that has lawful weight because it puts responsibility on the government. Okay? Now, in the normal sense, you give 30 days for a response. When no response comes back by means of a sworn and notarized affidavit from the affidavit recipient, okay, in rebuttal to our affidavit, all right, then the recipient, public officer, has admitted to and agrees with all of the lawful positions stated in the affidavit, okay? Therefore, he agrees that he's vacated his office. He
Yes.
agrees that he's a criminal. He agrees that he's anti-constitutional. He agrees that he's a traitor to the country, okay? Now, once you have that, there are two things that can be done. Margie said you can put the people in jail. Well, let's tell you how you can put the people in jail, because I'm sure that's a question. There are two ways it can be done. Neither one works unless you follow through, all right? People do not follow through. We do. Our people follow through. That's why we and our people have been very successful. And we'd like everyone to be successful, everyone across the country. And any cause you have, we don't care what the cause is, we'd like you to be successful. If it's a just cause, yeah, we'd like you to be successful using the power and the authority of the Constitution. So, the two things that you do. Number one, you go to a sheriff. Well, Hawaii doesn't have sheriffs, do they?
We do not.
Not anymore.
Okay.
They took them
No.
away.
Connecticut doesn't have sheriffs either.
Same reason.
Okay? Other states don't have sheriffs because the government is removing sheriffs.
Mm-hmm.
Because the sheriff is the highest law enforcement officer and the highest constitutional officer in that particular county. And he can invoke the Constitution against any unconstitutional action. And there have been sheriffs in the past who've done things like this. Not now, but in the past, yes. So if you go to a sheriff and complain about unconstitutional actions of government, since the sheriff is part of government, part of the corporation, paid by government, he gets his benefits from government, he gets his pension from government, he's not going to do a damn thing. All right? So what should the people do? The people should get him out of office by electing him out of office, just like the people in Paris, Wisconsin, got the sheriff, the police department, the whole government out of office by electing them out of office. Or Michigan. Michigan. Yeah.
Anyway.
Paris, something other.
The only thing with that is that the elections here, I personally feel that they're absolutely fraudulent. I don't believe that there's
elections are corrupt.
a fair election at all.
Listen, America is the most corrupt nation on the face of the earth, and people may not understand this because the people don't understand the existing reality in which they live. They live in a fantasy. I mean, there are some people who see the reality and see the fantasy and understand it, but those are the few weirdos, okay, like us and you and some other people.
With people with common sense who look at it. Anybody looking at what's going on all over this country, particularly in Maui right now, would say, of course there's no honest government anymore. If there were, they would listen to the people. They wouldn't be doing anything because we told them, no, we don't want this. They would be opposing it. They're not doing that. They're not doing that because they're not afraid of the people. They're more
Correct.
afraid of the masters than they are of people. And that's the
Yes.
people's fault because we have sat back on our laurels and done very little as a species. As a human family, we've done very little to stop and control and contain and root out the evil that is pervasive in this world.
We've done
It's
nothing.
coming down to them or us. Okay, we have to decide: do we want to be free people? Do we want to have an opportunity to live a decent life, or do we want to remain slaves and live in even worse conditions than many people are living in now? This is what it comes down to. And I don't want to be melodramatic about this, but the
No,
people
this is the
have
truth.
to recognize their responsibility.
And they have.
And I know a lot of people think because they go and they protest and they stand up and they
Doesn't
speak
mean a
that
thing.
they've done their job. Well, that's a good start, but it doesn't bring the point home to these public officials that they don't have the authority to go against the will of the people. This is what
Yes.
you guys
No.
that's it.
The
Yeah.
second position, because the sheriff is not going to work, period. The second position is taking it to court. Well, the
Yep.
courts are corrupt.
Mhm.
I mean, they're the most corrupt part of the government, okay? The courts, they're unconstitutional, they're corporate, they're criminal, they're corrupt. Yet Margie and I, for 72 years, and our people have won virtually, well, not 100%, but close to 100%, 99 point something percent against these corrupt governments because we embrace ourselves only in the authority and power of the national, original, organic Constitution, okay?
Mhm.
Not the phony Constitution of 1871, the original Constitution upon which our country was founded and upon which the constitutional republic was founded, okay?
Mhm.
Now, since the courts are corrupt, and they are, I mean, people go to court who think they're going to win because they're nice people, or they think they're before a nice judge, or they're right in what they're doing, are fools. I hate to put it that way. They're not living in the reality. They're
Mhm.
living in a fantasy. We have to get out of the fantasy. There's nothing wrong with fantasy when you want to go into fantasy and
Yeah.
you know it's fantasy, okay?
When it's not dealing with your life and your children's
Exactly.
lives.
And everyone else's lives too.
Mhm.
Yeah. But we have to get back to reality. So the reality is the court is corrupt. So what are you going to do about it? Well, if people were to do what we and our people do, they can be successful. Now, we've said that the use of the Constitution in the most corrupt country that ever existed on this earth, and there's been a lot of corrupt countries, but this is number one, because we pretend we're the good guys. We're not the good guys. We're the evil guys, okay? And we've been evil from the very beginning, all right? So what we do when we go to court is put everyone on notice constitutionally and lawfully, all right? Now, before we go to court, we already have written affidavits to our opponent. Our opponent has not rebutted any of those affidavits. Therefore, our opponent admits to and agrees with all the statements and charges and claims we made in those affidavits. He didn't rebut anything. An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth and fact
Yes.
before court, okay?
I want to
Now,
just I want to let everybody know about that. So if you when you send your affidavit to this Maui City Council members and sharing how that they are violating their oath of office and they don't rebut it, they don't send you something back saying, no, this is how we're not, this isn't correct. That affidavit stands as truth and law when you go to court. That's the power of the people. That's the power we have. So yeah, keep going, Jack. Thank you.
About the power of the people.
That's right.
And the power of the people is vested in their constitution, which is their best friend. And
Yes.
a lot of them, most of them don't even know their best friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you go to court, right, and the affidavit is unrebutted, the only thing that can rebut an affidavit is a rebuttal affidavit. And if no rebuttal affidavit is filed, your affidavit stands as fact and truth before the court. Now, as soon as the court is convened by the judge, he'll look at the U.S. attorney or whoever is speaking for the other side and ask that fool if the government's ready to proceed. And that idiot, because anyone who works for the government is a goddamn idiot. I mean, you don't work for a criminal, evil organization and not be an idiot. Okay? So anyone who works for the government is an idiot or a criminal or in getting graft from his job, which they all do.
Mhm.
Now, there are some people at lower levels who are not criminals. They're just doing their job. I'm talking about those in executive higher up positions, all right? So the judge will ask the U.S. attorney if he's ready to proceed. And that fool will say, yes, Your Honor, government's ready to proceed. Mr. Flynn, Mrs. Flynn, whoever is speaking for us at that time. Are you ready to proceed? It's always, no, sir, not at this time. And you better make sure it's a sir and not a madam, because a lot of them look alike because they wear the black dress. And sometimes you can't tell whether that's a guy or a gal. So you're going to be a little careful. And we've made a few mistakes. We've called a gal a guy and a guy a gal. And that's not the best way to start
No,
out.
that's not a good way to start. But
But
go
anyway,
ahead.
if we sure it's a guy, we'll say, no, sir, not at this time. We have some matters we have to clarify before we go further. And if he doesn't know us, okay, and I'll explain this later. If he doesn't know us, he'll say, go right ahead. Usually go right ahead. And we'll say right away, you and the U.S. attorney have sworn oaths to the national and state constitutions. I've just made a statement, okay, based on truth, fact, law, and evidence. Everything I've stated is correct, all right?
Mhm.
Then I asked the confirming question, is that correct? Well, unless the guy's an idiot, he's going to answer yes. And when he
Yes.
answers yes, he's answering for himself and the U.S. attorney. And the U.S. attorney doesn't like it. But the judge is the one who has asked the question. He answers the question, yes. Then we say, with all due respect, you and the U.S. attorney must abide by those oaths in the performance of your official duties. Is that correct? When he answers yes, we, Margie and I, and our people, because we know the Constitution. I mean, we've lived the Constitution for 70 years, as a lot of our people have. We know the Constitution, okay?
Mhm.
We just won our case. Because not only do we know the Constitution, we know the constitutional requirements and mandates imposed upon the judge and the U.S. attorney. So they're in a box, and they
Yep.
can't get out of that box because the box is in a corner. This is why we have a very high win rate, the highest in history. Okay? I wish other people did this because they could have a similar high win rate. Now, the affidavit stands as fact and truth before the court. The court convenes theoretically, again, theoretically, to hear the truth. Court abhors the truth, does not want to hear the truth,
Yes.
but puts it out there that it wants to hear the truth. Okay? Yeah. The court also convenes to hear matters in controversy. All right? Well, since our affidavit is unrebutted, it stands as fact and truth before the court. All right? Therefore, it stands as truth. And since our opponent has admitted to that truth, there is no controversy for the court to hear, and lawfully the victory is ours.
Already.
Even
Like you don't even have to continue. So
well,
you,
we do in a formal sense. We do continue. Sometimes we get a summary judgment right away. I mean, sua sponte from the judge, right away, case dismissed, or, if we're plaintiffs, we get the award. It's awarded to us. Because we are based in the authority and the power of the Constitution. That's what we're trying to get across to the American people. So if the people of Maui were to do this against their city council, against their government, okay, against their senators, U.S. senators, state senators, and governor and legislators everywhere, they could be very successful. There could be a paper revolution in Hawaii. Okay, you guys could really start the thing going, but no one is doing it. They're talking. And again, there's nothing wrong with talk. There's nothing wrong with knowledge. But unless you take the talk and the knowledge to the next step, which is taking lawful effective action, you might as well go back to sleep and forget it.
So what did you think of, so you guys read my affidavit and then you gave me some really good feedback of putting, because I did a whole affidavit of almost everything that I know about what happened with the Lahaina fires.
Right.
And
It was a good affidavit. You did a good job. You did a very good job. And I would concentrate, in terms of the other things we mentioned, all right? If you focus upon them, because that shows the degree of evil and harm to burn people to death in their own homes and their own cars
To prevent them from leaving.
because they can't travel down the road. I mean, people walk down that road to safety, but the cops wouldn't let the people drive down the road. I mean, that's murder.
It's murder.
This is where the people have to look at themselves and say, why did we let that happen? Back in the day, okay, back in the Wild West especially, the people were the law of the land because their towns and cities weren't what you call terribly civilized, if that's even a proper word to use these days. So when something like that happened, they literally took the law into their own hands as vigilantes. And they would go to the offending officer and take that offending officer and try him before the people. And if people found him guilty, they'd hang him for his crimes against the people. And this is the kind of thing, unfortunately, that might have to happen again in America in order to get the American people aware of the fact that they are the true government.
Yes.
And it's their job to make sure that the people running the machinery of government are not corrupt crooks, because that's what they are. And it's not just the corruption that, oh, well, they're making money on the side and, you know, they got a nice house and big cars. It's so far beyond that because the agenda of the globalists, which is the agenda that is running everything and everyone is obeying it who is holding public office, you know it or not. That agenda is simple. They want to murder us, okay? They don't want to just pacify us or keep us corralled on an island or in a prison. They want to kill us, okay? And if we're stupid enough to sit back and let them do it, then, like Jack said, we deserve it. If we're not that dumb, if we've got a smidgen of common sense left and the survival instinct left, then we better get off our butts and start doing something now to put these guys out of office and put them in jail or execute them for their crimes. It's that serious. We can't just talk about it anymore. We have to have teeth in what we do, and the affidavit is the way to put teeth into the process. That's why we push it, because it is the most viable weapon that people have in terms of paper power, and this is what we're trying to do, push the paper power now before it's too late. Now, if they vote anyway, okay, you can still write affidavits, and you can demand that they hold a session and they rescind that vote. We've done this. We've actually had cities and towns reverse decisions that had been made on, you know, the take that went against the best interests of the people, and they rescinded those decisions because of the demand that people put on them. We did this in New Mexico, and believe me, New Mexico is as much a manana land and laid back as Hawaii is. So if we could do that there with those people, you guys can do it on Hawaii. I know you can. It's just
yes, we can. We got this. We totally got this. So my question, the affidavit that I sent to you guys, I'm going to revise it with your comments. Can that be that can be a template for people to use, and then they can just add their personal.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. And make it simple and write down the point and get them out there. Don't just sit and think about it. Do it. Okay. A lot of people, for some reason or other, they lack confidence. We worked with some people in the past who came to us and what we thought were good faith intentions. And they talked and talked and talked, and they did meetings and more committees and meetings, and they didn't do a damn thing. Okay, nothing. So the things that they wanted to stop didn't get stopped because they dropped the ball. You guys are facing an imminent disaster.
Yes, okay? Correct.
And it's time for the people to put their big boy girl and pants on and get up and do something now. This is the way to do it. It's not that difficult. It's really rather simple, and it's powerful. And if people stand up in numbers and do this, these guys aren't going to know what hit them because they don't have a leg to stand on. When it comes to the Constitution, they have no comeback. They took an oath, and they have a responsibility to uphold that oath. If they're in office without an oath, then they're criminals anyway. They have no lawful authority to hold the office, so you can still remove them because they're frauds.
Absolutely. I love it. So you guys, I'm going to, for you watching, that affidavit is almost completed. I'm going to have the link. Well, by the time this is uploaded, I'm going to have it done, and I will have the link of it so you can actually go and use it as a template for yourself. And for my list, please get on standtogetherhawaii.com, standtogetherhawaii.com, because I'm going to send that to the email list. I'm going to send it to the email list and show people exactly where their particular spot of what they need to put for themselves of how they have been harmed in that affidavit. I'll send you the address of where to send it for the governor. And then we're going to need to create one for the Maui City Council. And that's our power. And this more than likely is going to need to go to the court system. And we're going to stand by that affidavit, and we're going to do this in courage and in strength and in the knowingness that our inspiration, it comes from truth and love and light. And that's where we are. Is there anything lastly you guys want to share?
Well, yes, briefly. You know, we did some seminars in Hawaii years ago, okay, 2011 and 12. We lived there for maybe 4 months or something on Maui. We lived in Maui with some good friends of ours, all right. We presented seminars there, and people who took the method seriously won all sorts of cases across the islands, okay? Not only Maui or Oahu, Hawaii, everywhere, all right? Because they took the methods seriously. Everyone used an affidavit. This had never been done in Hawaii before, never, all right? And I told you about the fellow who beat the Army. The Army grabbed him on some type of fake charge, and he was in serious trouble. He used our methods against the Army, okay? And the Army dismissed, or the court dismissed the case against the Army and found this fellow. He used an affidavit. There was another fellow, he lives on Maui as well, and he was involved in a serious situation with a major bank. Citibank in New York, they wanted a bunch of money from him. They weren't entitled to that money. He used the affidavit, okay? Citibank really didn't know what the hell to do, but it had dealings with a law firm called the Dang Law Firm. The Dang Law Firm was very powerful at that time in Hawaii. Never had lost a case as far as I know. It was very politically connected, right? And the judge was so intimidated that he didn't know what to do. So Miles disqualified the judge, and the first judge stepped down. Okay.
Right on.
Miles dismissed him, disqualified him, stepped down, and the judge actually stepped down based upon the constitutional positions that Miles had stated and filed with the court. The second judge came in the next day, all right, and Miles started talking. The judge said, no, you don't have to say anything further. This case is dismissed.
Nice.
Oh, no.
That's our power. That's our power.
That was done in Hawaii, okay?
Oh my gosh.
People who took the method seriously, 99% didn't, okay? So that 1% that did very well. So I'm saying in your own state with your own people, you can use the affidavit for success as they did. So be our guest.
Go for it.
All right, we got this, you guys. Well, I just so appreciate both of you for your time and for your knowledge and for your tenacity of going at it for this for 70 years. Oh my goodness. I mean, that takes a lot because I've only been doing this for 3 years, and I wish I knew this back when COVID started, because I was on that protesting. I went to the police station. I went to the police station with a cake that said mahalo for not arresting the protesters, because they did arrest some people at this one health summit that I put on, trying to explain to people what happened and what was happening wasn't correct. And I told the police officer, I had a mask on, I said, this is not helping with the VIRUS. And I said, this is about control. And he said, we know. He said, we know it's just a regular flu. It's exactly what he said. And I said, how come you're not doing anything? He goes, we can't. You guys can. But I didn't know what to do besides protest and write, but now I do know what to do. So I really appreciate you guys so much. And let's just do a quick prayer, and then I'll let you guys go on your day. But Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of all things, the truth is coming. The truth is so bright. The truth is so, so, so bright. And all of the people that do not stand for the truth and do not stand for the people and for the Aina, they are leaving. They are either peaceably being removed from office in a way that is truthful and for the people and constitutionally just right, or they are actually voluntarily stepping down because they know that they need to leave. And we are just so grateful for this happening, for this is already done. And the people in Maui and the people in Hawaii, we are free. We are free. We are free. And this freedom emanates out to the world, that anything that does not stand for people is gone, being removed in a peaceful way and leaving the planet right now. We know that all people around the world are free, are sovereign, are in harmony with each other, that all people matter. And we send this frequency of light, of truth, and of hope out to all of the mainland, to Canada, to Mexico, to Ukraine, to Russia, to Palestine, to Israel, to China, to Australia, New Zealand, Africa, and wraps it around the beautiful Aina, all the way back to the Hawaii Islands. And we give so much gratitude for Margie and for Jack Flynn for their journey and their tenacity and their willingness to help all people with this constitutional truth and the unalienable rights that we have from you, Great Spirit, that we are free, that it is our right. And we know that whatever needs to happen, whatever our kuleana is, that we are inspired to do it, and we do it with grace and with ease and with peace and love in our hearts, knowing that we are free, and it is done, it is done, it is done. Mahalo so much, you two. Thank you so much for this interview, and many blessings. I'll talk with you guys soon. Aloha.
Same to you. Be well. Bye-bye.